All right. This week we're going to start talking about externalities. And so in the first half of the course, we talked about the supply and demand model, and then we went through different ways where government could take policies that would make the model less efficient or cause an efficiency loss. For example, we had taxes and price ceilings and price floors and this kind of stuff. And then we went and looked at market structures. And when we looked at market structures, we looked at perfect competition, and we looked at other market structures where firms had market power and they would restrict output to cause an inefficiency. Now, in this section, we're going to look at another type of inefficiency that can occur in a market that is unregulated. Okay, and so let's go ahead and get started. So markets are not always efficient when left unregulated. And this is even if it was perfect competition. Okay, in fact, we're going to go back to our perfect competition case for this example, but not the individual firm. We're going to look at the whole market. Okay, so when there is an externality, we have an externality, then the unregulated market will not deliver the maximum total surplus to society. This is, I guess, a long-winded way to say it's not going to be economically efficient. Okay, that's what this means. So, just to maybe to highlight that, this means it's not economically efficient. Okay, and when I say economically efficient, I'm talking about. I guess I should, instead of economically efficient, I should use the word we use, allocatively efficient. Okay, so this is the situation we're talking about. This is when we have an externality. So you're probably asking, well, what's an externality? So let's go ahead and talk about that. So an externality is basically when the market or the action of somebody affects third parties who are not involved. Okay, and so I'll give you some examples in just a second. Let me define it first, and then I'll give you examples of this. So we have an uninvolved third party. Okay, so they're not directly involved, is affected we can say it simply by an activity. Usually it's a market, but not always. Okay, it could also just be a private activity that is not happening in a market. Okay, so just to give you an example of this, before that's not in a market, is somebody's smoking in a public place and you're experiencing the secondhand smoke. You are the uninvolved third party. If you're smoking yourself, that's a different story. But if you're not smoking, you just happen to be there, then you are the uninvolved third party. Okay. And the second thing is this can also be positive sometimes. So they neither pay nor receive compensation for this effect. So if it's a positive effect, they don't pay for this positive effect. And if it's a negative effect, they don't receive compensation for this negative effect. Okay, so this is called an externality. So let's give some examples of this externality. Okay, so right now you might want to pause and try to brainstorm your own examples before you go on. But since I can't really ask you here, I'm just going to list some. Okay, so you might want to pause if you want. Pollution of various types, like air and water pollution. Okay, in that case, the people causing the pollution are involved in some activities, usually production, sometimes transportation, and then they're causing this negative effect that affects other people. So even if you don't own a car and you're not involved in producing anything, but you're still affected by this pollution, right? So some other examples: traffic. Okay, when roads get crowded, we start to have a negative externality on the other drivers because us driving creates more traffic for other people. Secondhand smoke is kind of a classic example. Loud noise, right? So somebody down the street is having a party and they're causing a lot of noise for all the people in the neighborhood. Okay, the behavior that people do, maybe when they do excessive drinking, I don't know. There's a lot of things we could say here. Okay, let's go on the positive side. So there's some kind of classic ones. Positive side is vaccinations. Okay, that's it. So you get a vaccination, and not only you protect yourself from getting a certain disease, you also protect other people from that disease. Education has some positive externalities. So there not only brings a benefit to the individual, but that individual also brings extra benefit that goes to the overall society. Another one is like when you have like beautiful old buildings. Okay, so you can think about it. They might bring pleasure to the people who live in them, or to the people who own them for commercial purposes. They might bring them profits, but they also will benefit the overall neighborhood because they might add to the appeal of that neighborhood. So even if you don't live in one of these beautiful buildings, your business being located near it, or living near it, or walking past it on a given day may actually make you feel good, may give you a positive effect, but you're not paying for the upkeep of this building, right? Therefore, it's an externality. Okay, let's stop there. In the next video, I'll come back and look at the basic situation of the negative externality. And then next, we're going to come back and look at positive externalities and some related issues.